When you're finally ready to do an embroidery design, you're going to see me do one too, step by step on the Husqvarna Viking Designer EPIC 2. I've even just turned the machine on so we can see how it looks before we get started. Now, one thing that you might hear me talk about from time to time in our videos is our Embroidery Essentials online course. Make sure you check out the links below this video. If you want to really master your machine, this is a great way to do it because you do everything over and over and over, and before you know it, you know your machine inside and out. So I'm going to just slide that kind of out to the back because I do already have my fabric hooped up. So we'll go ahead and link to that video. But usually what I do is when I have my fabric hooped up that I'm about ready to stitch, I'll just go ahead and set that just kind of on the bed of the machine. You don't want to actually attach it to the embroidery arm. You'll notice it's way over there right now. But until the machine tells me to attach it, then I'm going to just let it kind of hang out. So I'm going to do start new right here at the bottom, and you'll always get this message as you turn your machine on each day. Embroidery arm needs to calibrate, remove the hoop, and let that embroidery arm kind of do that little dance. So that little noise at the end, that is normal. So I've gone ahead and picked out a design already that's actually not too big, but has a couple color changes. I'm going to do design A59, just a little paisley design. This picture has been reduced, but I do see that it is a larger design. We'll show you how it's going to look on screen. Of course, there are some larger ones. So one thing I was looking at was what the stitch count actually was. And this is one of the lower ones, but still kind of a substantial size. So to find the designs, I am in the A menu, but you can go left or right, or if you have designs on a USB stick, you can touch the folder and access anything on the MySewNet account that you have set up or the USB stick. But for today, we're just going to go ahead and be in the flower option with menu A. And yes, you can open it up a little bit further. You can collapse it back down to something smaller. And again, it's so much easier to take some time to actually stitch these out because they are going to look so much better in thread than just here on the screen. So if I touch it once, you will notice you'll get the design number, the size, how many stitches, and also how many colors. So if you're looking for a design that's got a certain size, well gosh, that's got 6 colors, maybe you only wanted something with a fewer color changes, that's one way to kind of go about it. Once you're ready to select the design, touch and hold. Now, as this comes in, you can kind of see it usually comes in off to the side here, and I like to just bring it right to the middle of the whole hoop space. Speaking of hoops, the design you pick will come in a hoop size that is the best to fit that design. This one came in at an 80 by 80 hoop size, which guess what? I don't actually have that hoop, plus I know which hoop I'll be using. On the hoops, they'll say right here on the inner hoop. This one says 260 by 200, so let's go ahead and select that right away. It's best that you do that. That way the hoop and the machine all get kind of coordinated together, and if you don't, the machine will tell you to put the correct hoop on or the one it thinks you have on it. So at this point, we can move the design, we can size the design up or down a little bit, we can touch at the top here and even rotate it. I'm actually touching and holding the screen for any of these operations, and if I want to get back to normal, I do have an undo, so I can bring it back to its original location and size. So definitely something that you can play with. So it's not a very big design, but that's okay. I don't want it to take a super long time to embroider. Maybe I want it flipped. I can do that. I can also touch and hold that design and have options like duplicate or delete it. Mirror image it here or here. So lots of options depending on how you actually touch the screen. But usually you bring in a design, you center it, and when you're ready to embroider, you touch go. Now right here is a screen that always comes up before you get to the embroidery screen. It just says, let's review what you've got going on here. It can sense that I have the single whole throat plate, which I do recommend that you use for embroidery. So if you haven't, go ahead and switch that out. It says what hoop I'm working with, which foot I'm working with, and then these will be things that we'll get into at a later video that are things for coloring or basting in the hoop or even turning off your thread cutter. So most of the time when I get here, if I've done everything correctly, I'm going to just reach down and touch the green continue. And here comes that embroidery arm. That is when you'll get this message, attach hoop, and this is the hoop size it's expecting. So if you don't put that hoop on, you won't be able to embroider any further. At this point, let's take a look at the bracket that's on the embroidery hoop and what you have for attaching. So when you come over here, you're kind of sliding it between this silver top part and the gray lower part. And when you kind of get it lined up, I want you to use some muscles here. I want you to give it a good push. And don't be afraid. Did you hear that click? That's what you're listening for. If you don't hear the click, push it in a little bit further, and it is fully attached. There's nothing else that we need to do here. When you go to take it off, this is when you push the lever down and pull the hoop to you, and that will release it. So in, line it up, push till it clicks, and forget about it. So just a note, you don't never want to push this down while you're putting it in because you might not ever hear the click. See how that doesn't work. Okay, so go ahead and put that in. This is also censored, so once it checks it one more time, it can tell if this is the correct hoop or not, and then you might get a message if it's not. Totally ready to go. Just a quick little reminder, when you are threading for an embroidery machine, make sure their presser foot is up. Hold the thread up here with your right hand, and as you're threading along the way, I've come down and I'm headed up towards the take-up lever. If you stop right here and give it that little floss, you are guaranteed to make sure that that thread has been completely seated in with the tension area, and that makes for a happy machine. Love, love the needle threader. Once you use the needle threader, don't touch it. Just leave it be right there at the foot, on the tails, wherever. It's okay. You don't have to hold it or fish it out. So I'm going to go ahead and do the green check mark. That just double checks that it is all set up. Now, I didn't really know which of the areas of this paisley design it was going to stitch first, but my machine is set up and I want to take it off because if yours is not, this is what you're going to actually see. So right now you're going to see that the design is all three colors, but I love the fact that right here on this color block list that the second flower in will gray out anything that's not being stitched on color 1. And when we go to color 2, it will show us what color 2 is, and then color 3 will be that final little detail there. So kind of knowing that, I can kind of pick my thread colors accordingly. So I think I'll do my lime green and then orange next and then blue on the third one. A couple other things. You're going to notice that your first color is going to show how long it's going to take to stitch out right here. Mine says 3 minutes, then it's going to say 4 minutes, and then 2 minutes for the last one. So just kind of approximate there. And really everything else is ready to go. So I'm going to go ahead and push the start button. That's going to be this one right up here with the play button on it. And it's just going to go ahead and start stitching. At this point, you'll start to see down here your numbers kind of going through the stitch count. And at the foot, I'm just checking to make sure I'm not getting any bobbin thread coming up while it's stitching. So that's something that you don't want to have. And if you do have any of your white bobbin thread coming up, that you can reduce the tension on screen. If you need to reduce your tension, you're going to start at 50 and then minus it until you don't have any bobbin thread showing up. When a color is done, it'll cut the thread, but not the bobbin thread, and tell us to change colors. Now, if you're not changing colors, maybe you're just stitching this entire design as one color. Obviously, you don't follow what's on the screen. And watch this. I don't usually even touch this green check mark. You can just go ahead, take your thread off the machine, and then put your new color on, and then push the start button. At the end, you'll get the message, your embroidery is finished. So go ahead and do the check mark, and then you notice you're still on the embroidery screen. So to come back out of the embroidery screen, touch the arrow at the bottom that points to the left, and hear that little sound. I did this on purpose. I did not remove the hoop yet because it will ask you and tell you, please remove the hoop. So it will not move this embroidery arm all the way to the left with this hoop still attached. So if I'm just doing this, I'll often leave that right in that position and then touch the green check mark. That moves that embroidery arm to the far left side. That's the park position. It's the same position if you were to hop over to the sewing side of the machine, that it would be attached but off to the side. And yes, you can sew with your embroidery module attached to this machine. So let's take a look at our design. So we have our 3 colors there. I want to just flip it over because on the back I want to show you what it looks like with good tension. You should see some of the color on the back kind of incorporated with some of the white thread back here. You can really see it in the middle where that was the largest satin stitch. So you want to see about 1/3 of the white and then 2/3, 1/3 on each side with the color. It's a little harder to see when the stitches are just straight line or very narrow satin stitch, but the fact that you don't see any white thread on the top is really key to having good tension. So you are ready to take this out of the hoop and use it in a future project. So if you are new to embroidery, you have hundreds of designs built into this machine that are beautiful. They look so much better stitched out. Put your own flair on it, change up the colors, and have some fun playing around with this machine. And remember, if you want to take the fast track of using and learning your embroidery machine, check out the Embroidery Essentials online course where we have links below for you to check out.